Hi, good to see you again. Today I've been having a bit of a look at Mr. Walker. Awesome revolver. Always had an issue with him though, as to get him to shoot where you're looking. He, I think as with all cap and ball revolvers, he always seemed to shoot high. You can sort of live with that. This particular one though, it's always shot to the right. Which gets a little frustrating at times. I mean, you can compensate a little, but there is obviously an issue with the sights. The sights on these things, well, they're hardly target sights, are they? I mean, we've got that eardy little front sight, and your rear sight, of course, is just the notch in the rear hammer. Not the easiest to see at the best of times, particularly when the eyes are not as good as they used to be. But when I look at the targets that come up, time and time again, as we can see this, we're starting to get into group now, but it's always to the right. And if I look at this, we're frustratingly what? I suppose the centre of that group's probably what? 2.5 inches to the right. That's so I have to ask myself a question: why, and what can I do about it? Well, first I took a quick look at the rear notch on the sight. At some point in time, these are a little V notch when they're new, but this one's been widened out, which is, I think, pretty much a standard modification. But when we look at it, it's not very even, is it? So it's the best thing to do is put the calipers on and just measure and see what the difference is. We seem to have approximately 151 on the right hand side, but we've got 178 on the left hand side. So that means that sight is not central in the rear hammer, and it's across to the right, which means the gun would expectedly shoot to the right. Suppose the only thing to do really is get a file and correct it. Thing with this though is, how much do you correct it by? I mean, we can just centralise it, which is be a start. There's always the question is though, when you have to file a hammer to make the sights right, if you go too far, there's only one option, isn't there? That's a new hammer. Seems like an unwanted expense. And perhaps we ought to have a think about what effect that difference will be. I mean, if we take one from the other, we've got what, 17 something or other. Does help if you actually get it right, doesn't it? We've got 1785 on the left. We've got 1785 on the left, 151 on the right. So that's a difference of 0.275. So that's what, 27 thou. Doesn't sound very much, does it? So what effect would 27 thou have on it? Now this might start getting a little bit wobbly, but there is some logic to it. So if you stay with me, we'll get there in the end. That's drawn out some quick notes to decide, put some logic in my own head anyway. Well, if we think that 1 minute of angle is 1.047 inches at 100 yards, so we'll say 1 inch. At 25 yards, it's a quarter of that. It's a quarter of an inch. Right. So if the centre of the group is 2.5 inches to the right, that's 10 MOA out. Starts to sound like a huge amount, doesn't it? Well, the sight radius on the Walker, 12 inches, seems large for a revolver, doesn't it? But then the Walker is a large revolver, so if we look at that, it's, you can see there, it's actually a shade over 12 inches. Well, if 1 minute of angle is an inch, we'll say, at 100 yards, 12 inches, that's 300, that's a foot, so there's 300 feet in 100 yards. So, that gives us, if we divide 1 inch by 300, it's basically 3.5 thou difference in the sights. We'll change it 1 minute, its point of impact, 1 minute of angle. 3.5 thou is not a lot, is it? So if we've got a sight error of 27.5 thou, 27 thou, let's say, that's 2 inches. And if we think of our sight adjustment sort of rule of 4s, front, opposite, rear, same, having the larger amount on the left, yeah, if we reduce that and level them up, that will move at its point of impact to the right. Well, that gives us a 2 inch adjustment. Nearly where we want to be, isn't it? Okay then, best just grab a file and get this sorted. Well, the file you use for this job, you need to make sure it's a nice thin one that will slide in easily. The biggest thing is to make sure that it's one with a safe edge, because on the base we want to be filing the side, we don't want to actually be filing the base of the rear sight notch. So you want a smooth edge to rub on the base. It's important when you're filing this that you keep the smooth edge of the file down and try and keep everything as square as possible. And you see what we should finish up with is a nice squared notch. There's not a lot of metal to come off, so it doesn't take very long. And obviously if things aren't quite right, they can always be adjusted at the range when we do the final sighting in. But measuring it to be sure, as you can see here, we've got 151 on the right and 151 on the left, so we're good and even. And as we can see, we've got a nice easy to see sight picture, which should put us a lot closer to our point of aim. Well, I hope you found that interesting. It's been fun again. If you have found it interesting, please like and subscribe, and check out the channel for some more interesting videos. See you again soon. Bye.